Hey, Erica, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Excited to have you back on to chat all about your book.
Thanks for having me again, Shay. I can't wait to talk about this next book.
Yeah, so female athlete high performance. Let's start with just like a high level overview of the book, and then we'll kind of like get down into the nitty gritty more so. So let's kind of, what is the book about on a high level? Like, what can readers expect to get out of it?
Well, I started writing it over a year ago, and what inspired me to write it was some of the messaging I was hearing female athletes being blasted with. Things like you have wide hips, it's your Q angle, having a menstrual cycle makes you more prone to injury, and just all these fear mongering messages that female athletes are at a higher risk of injury. And yes, they might be based on the research, but I was just getting frustrated because that's what was being hammered home to them.
Right,
And I was just thinking, why can't we just shift our messaging from injury prevention to more, let's chase high performance?
right. Mhm.
Let's really tell girls, hey, if you get bigger, faster, stronger, more explosive, injury reduction is going to be an amazing result of that, but it doesn't have to be our focus. We can just focus on a well-rounded high performance program. And I remember when I was growing up and I enrolled in strength and conditioning in middle school, camps were not marketed as injury prevention programs.
Right.
They were more get big, get fast, get strong. And
Yeah, yeah.
the first strength and conditioning experience I had was an off-season summer camp, literally called Bigger, Faster, Stronger. And for me, I was like, wow, that's so empowering. Like, heck yes, I want that to be me. I want to outrun my opponents. I want to be able to hold my own and have muscles. Like, let's do this. And now I don't know why there's been a shift on this kind of like tiptoeing girls around like injury and making them scared of high injury risk. Like, I don't know how this messaging took a turn, but my theory is that fear sells.
Yeah, exactly.
And people are playing to the emotions of female athlete parents or clubs and coaches. And yeah, we want to reduce injury risk as much as we can, but we can just focus on high performance and focus on equipping female athletes with the tools to be the best
Yeah.
athletes they can be. So that's an overview of the book.
Yeah.
It's all about chasing high performance.
I love that because it is really disempowering when it's like female athletes are more likely to get injured and like mention like all that stuff that you said that's really disempowering. It's like, well, shoot, like I can't change that. You know what I mean? Like who, like what can I do? And I agree with you. Is it's now the message is more out of fear, right? It's almost like we're playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. Like let's just train in order to not get injured. Whereas your messaging in your book comes in, it's like, no, let's train to get fast, to get strong, to get like really good at our sport, right? And a byproduct of that is you'll probably have a reduction of injuries, but you're not training from the place of like, let's just do it for injury prevention because you can't even prevent injuries in the first place. Right. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about even just like the term injury prevention, like, can we prevent injuries? If not, like, why not?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one. So I used to think injury prevention was this ridiculous term, but I think as
Mhm.
long as we're transparent with our athletes, whether we use injury prevention or injury reduction or
Yeah.
injury mitigation, as long as we're transparent with them, hey, we're just trying to stack the odds in your favor. Sports are hard. There are going to be tackles, there's going to be uneven playing surfaces. There's going to be all these factors that go into injury that like you might not be able to fully prevent or control, but what we can do is still focus on high performance. We want to raise the ceiling on your speed, your strength, your ability to change direction fast, to be conditioned in the final minutes of the game. And that hard work is worth it to not only perform at a high level, but to make sure that you do stay healthy. But if you don't, if you chase high performance and you get unlucky and you still get injured, it's still not a waste
Yeah,
because
right.
you still learn how to train properly. You still learn how to nourish your body. And recover. You're never going to do everything perfectly, but you can try to be the highest performer you can be and learn about yourself along the way and learn discipline and good habits. And that's one thing I hear a lot of is like girls still getting ACL injuries, and everyone's like, oh, well, it's because they're girls, or the turf fields, or like, why are they still getting injured? And I'm like, well, no, we don't really know for sure. There's a lot of people out there who claim that they know the cause of all injury, but there's hundreds of factors
Mhm.
that go into it.
Mhm.
But we should still focus on giving our girls the tools to be the highest performers they can be, because it is more empowering and they're much more able to handle
Mhm.
challenges along the way if they do these things.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just high performance in sports, right? As an athlete, but it's high performance as a human being. And that's what I love about, the physical, like what your work and then the mental work is it transcends sports. Like once they're done playing their sport, whether it be in high school, after college, pro, whatever, they're still going to be able to take the principles, the discipline, the habits that they learn in, being a high performing human being in the rest of their life. So this work is just so incredibly important, and I'm excited for girls to, and parents too, to start to like really adopt what you teach as not just a way to become a better athlete, but kind of just like a lifestyle.
I'm glad you mentioned high performance for life, because that's
Mm.
actually the title of the final chapter of the
Oh,
book.
cool. Nice.
Yes. So like leading up to that, it's about physical high performance.
Yep.
So your speed, conditioning, agility, plyometrics, power, all that. And then the second half is mental performance. And then the closing chapter is all about using these tools for life in your career, or as
Oh,
a mom one day, or whatever you decide to do when sports ends, because I always say this, they will end. So you have to take these tools for high performance and continue to raise the standard on how you approach life, how you approach your health and your relationships and your family. So I really think the final chapter is going to wake some people up that, okay, we
yeah.
need to go through life empowered.
Mm.
And while it's not always going to be perfect, we can at least set ourselves up to continue to get better and to perform at a high level.
I love that. I love that. And like you're someone I think that kind of challenges the status quo quite a bit. Out of all of the like topics, chapters in your book, which chapter do you feel like is going to shake people up the most and maybe be the not so an unpopular opinion, maybe?
Oh gosh. I have two that I can
Okay.
think of. So the first one is long-term athletic development for
Mm.
female athletes. It's actually, I think it's the longest chapter in the book. It's about 40 pages.
Yeah, that's a big
Uh,
topic.
yeah, it's a big topic, and it really walks through each stage of female athlete development. So the play stage before age 12, where it's more about fun and games, and then the next stage is more specialization when we get into late middle high school and we pick a single sport and we do more serious training. And then the performance phase, which is age 15 and up through college, that's more of the phase where we're looking at objective measurements on power, speed numbers, and really fine tuning certain things.
Mhm.
And I really think it's going to wake parents, girls, coaches up to how training has to be not only age appropriate, but also maturity appropriate, especially emotionally. And I think what we see now is a lot of young girls forced into formal speed and strength programs when they're not necessarily ready for it.
Right.
And I think this chapter is going to be really good. And I tell a few funny stories of parents I've dealt with who've
Mhm.
given me a hard time about
Mhm.
training, especially for the younger ages. And I had to give a ton of refunds this past summer because a lot of younger ones' parents were
Yeah.
mad that my sessions were
Right.
really fun. So I tell that entire story, obviously leaving it anonymous, but I think
Yeah.
it's going to be really funny and it's going to make people's jaws drop what actually
Yeah.
happened.
No, I'm interested to read that. But yeah, it's so true. It's like an 11-year-old shouldn't be training like a 15-year-old. And I think that we just kind of have this like one size fits all approach sometimes to the training and development of athletes. So I
Mhm.
think that chapter, yeah, it's going to be huge for sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and yeah, I think you'll love the story. And
Yeah.
just when I thought I've seen it all in 12 years of doing this, I was wrong. This summer was a
Yeah.
little nutty, but and then the other chapter that I think will surprise people is actually the nutrition chapter.
Mm. Mm.
And I've had a lot of conversations with registered dietitians who are kind of going off the beaten path for not only female athlete performance, but also for female hormonal health.
Mm.
And I'm just really fascinated about the most up-to-date research on how we can support our female athletes' physical performance, mental performance, and hormonal health through really upping protein and healthy fats.
Mm.
And I'm not saying I'm anti-carb, but I'm just saying that based on the current research, we're giving them too many processed carbs and sugars and like really celebrating these things when it's actually awful for hormonal health.
Okay.
And it's going
Wow.
to really rock the boat and piss a lot of people off. But, I'm not just getting this information from nowhere. There's a lot of registered dietitians I've talked to in the
Yeah.
female space, but also even OBGYNs whose
Mhm.
research I've pulled. So it's super fascinating, and I'm really excited for the nutrition chapter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about your books is it's not just like anecdotal. It's like you're doing the research, you're talking to the experts. And just like your first book, like I know this book is going to be very scientific based and have like a lot of research and science to like back up what you're talking about, because I know like there's a lot of crap out there. And so I'm glad that there's this resource, really, this guide, this kind of playbook that parents and athletes will be able to go to when they're seeing other things on Instagram and whatnot, where they can kind of go back to your book and really reference the more truthful side of the equation.
There's definitely a lot of research, and I would say compared to the first book,
Mhm.
it's more of a practical application. So there is a lot of research in this book, but it's more okay, what are some sample meal plans? What are some
Mhm.
sample recovery circuits? There's a exercise video library in there. There's pictures of drills for every physical performance quality. And then at the end of the book, there's actually workbooks for the off season. And so people just get a little sample program. And
Mhm.
the first book was mainly just, okay, why do we do this? But
Right.
now this book's like, okay, how
Good
do we do
practice.
this?
Yeah.
And
Love it.
this book is actually 3 times the size of my first book. So I'll just
Yeah.
here, like, that's just a
That's
standard
gonna be
size.
a nice big book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be pretty big, but
Yeah.
I'm excited. And yeah, I think it's like close to 500 pages.
Yeah.
So big.
That's a nice beefy book.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot of pictures, which will be nice to split up the text. So it'll be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the mental performance section of the book a little bit. I know I've looked at some of your on your post talking about what's included in those mental performance chapters. For you, what I guess what was your the favorite chapter that you wrote around mental performance, or I guess maybe the most important chapter that you're really excited for girls to dive into in that section?
Definitely the responsibility and discipline chapter.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about this before on our Zoom calls, but just really encouraging girls to see having responsibility and having the pressure of being an athlete as a privilege.
For sure.
And I think if we truly want to empower female athletes, we have to tell them that it is a blessing to take responsibility and to chase high performance and to really discipline yourself to get better. And I think that's where the purpose in our sports career is found, the purpose in our life is found, is just really leaning into discipline and not just doing whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
So, you have to have some sort
Yeah.
of structure in your life. That's what high performance is all about. And there's a lot of sacrifices you're going to have to make. There might be seasons where you're working extra hard and you're juggling a lot, and that's okay, especially if you want to get to the next level. So I think that chapter will kind of go against the mainstream as well. And we've talked about this before. I think self-care is a good thing, intentionally, but when we talk about it like way too much to the point of us avoiding responsibility to other people, I think that's
Right.
when it gets a little bit dangerous. So I touch on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, if an athlete reading your book wants to go play college or pro, it's like you can't skirt around like the hard work and the discipline. Like you just can't. At the end of the day, it's like you have to put in the work. You have to be disciplined. You have to have structure. It's not just going to come to you, just by do like you said, just by like doing what you want, when you feel like it. That's just not going to happen. Can you still have fun and enjoy your high school career and stuff like that? Yes, you can. But if you want to make it like beyond that, like it's going to require digging a bit deeper and making those sacrifices, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of how I close that chapter, is that high performance is a battle worth fighting for. And you may become a D1 college athlete, you may win a national championship, but that's not really the goal of high performance. It's that journey along the way, that battle, that overcoming of all these obstacles. That's where it's like, okay, this was a ride and an adventure worth going on, and it's going to be the adventure of your life, so you better enjoy it. And my mom always told me that, even when I was going through hard times during college soccer, and there'd be weeks where I was really upset about certain things, she always told me, make sure you enjoy this because it's going to end one day.
I know, it's so funny. I'm looking back, like, especially with, the conference championships, like Utah State actually just won their conference for the first time since I was there, which is amazing. But it just like kind of brings me back down memory lane a little bit. And when I was in it, there was really hard times where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is like never going to end. Right. And now I look and I'm like 10 years removed from that, makes it like that really ages me, right? 10 years from playing college soccer. And I look back and I'm like, that went by like in a blink of an eye. But sometimes when you're in it, when you're going through it, when it's hard work, it can seem like it lasts forever. So, like, yeah, it is just so important. Like you said, it's like it really isn't about the outcomes necessarily. It's more about the journey and the lessons along the way and the discipline and the habits that you build along the way, and like really being grateful for those moments and the tough times and the good times, because it does go by so fast.
Do you miss some of the tough times at all?
Yeah, you know what? There's a big part of me that is like always wanting to like seek out hard physical challenges. For me more so, I'm like, okay, where can I go backpacking and like, just like hard physical challenges, because that's just like the athlete in me, where I want to compete with myself in that way. So yeah, I do miss like when I'm watching games, it's the stuff that I miss the most is the competitiveness of the games, like the really intense games where you're just stuck in. Like that's what I miss the most about playing, is just like those really highly competitive, intense environments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that competitive environment is something you definitely miss when you're done. And I was talking to Dave Gleason about this last week on the podcast, because it's like when you become an adult, all you have is these co-ed soccer leagues,
Yeah, right.
and you're just going to get frustrated with them because it's just like not a good level, and everyone just like making passes out of bounds, and you're like, oh gosh, I just missed like competitive soccer.
Yeah.
But I write about how high performance is chasing that competitiveness.
Mhm.
And when we look at some of the best high performing female athletes in the world, like Serena Williams, she always wanted to compete.
Mhm.
And in order for her to raise the bar on her performance, she always had to train with people better than her or play against people better than her. And that's how you become a true high performer, is you don't necessarily run away from stress. You lean into it and you get better because of it.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, if you lean away from it, like you're not going to grow. That fear or whatever it is just going to get bigger. So I love that. I'd love to see, Erica. I know you wanted to maybe share your screen to share some things with the book. So if you're watching or if you're listening on, Spotify or Apple, head over to YouTube if you want to see some of the visuals here of Erica's book. So Erica, oh, we got it. We got the screen share. So I'll let you just kind of share what you want to share with this screen share.
So here's the cover.
It's super cool.
She did an amazing job. I actually used her for my first book, and I wanted it pretty similar to the first book cover with the topography, but since it's all about high performance, I wanted it to be more electric
Yeah,
and
I
just
love
kind of pop. And it's actually going to be released in paperback and hardcover just because
Awesome.
it's so big. And I'm going to release it in color because there's pictures in the book. So it's going to be a color book, which will be really nice. So I'm really excited. And it will only be available on Amazon.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, so it'll be available. Will it be available ebook too? Like
Yes.
Kindle? Okay.
Yep.
So we got ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Very cool. And then what is, drum roll, I know this may change, but what is your planned release date? So this podcast, when you're listening to it, it's November 22nd. What is the release date for this?
So I want everyone to enjoy their Thanksgiving holiday. But if you have time on Black Friday to hop over to Amazon and get the book, because it will be $20 off from Black Friday through Cyber
awesome.
Monday. So you have to take advantage of the sale. So make sure you get on it Black Friday when you're just kind of lounging around with your family and you're ready to get the book and dive in. So that's the plan. It should be available by then. I'm pretty sure it's done. My book editor and formatter are probably so mad at me. I've had
They're done with
probably 100 edits in the past week, but
you.
it's close. And with this book, I'm not chasing perfectionism, but I want to get close because I just want every sentence to really speak to everyone because I know how short attention spans are now. And I know like not everyone can sit through a whole book, but like I have reread every sentence of the book 10 times.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, it's taken several hours to do that. But the plan is Black Friday. So hopefully we're good for that day.
I love that. And one last thing that I wanted to ask you. It was in an Instagram video, I think, where you're talking about like the difference between your first book and second book, and where your second book you were like more meticulous, right? And like a bit more like disciplined with edits and stuff. And I just was like so resonated with that. Like my first, well, I don't have a second book yet. But my first book, I'm like, wow, I like breezed through the edits. There was some like stuff that I missed. I wasn't super, to be honest, I wasn't super disciplined with edits and stuff like that. So I think your first one is probably a little bit more disciplined than mine. I'm not much of a writer. But I just thought that was interesting how like once you get your second book, you're like, okay, I've done this before. Now it's like I'm really gonna like go deep and like lay into it.
It's funny when you do your first book, you're just so excited to get it out. Yeah, you don't know. And then you're just like, oh, I just want to get this out there. It's so awesome. But then you get a copy of it. And a lot of people might not catch the mistakes, but you're just like, oh, I should have changed that one.
Yeah, I had to go through and make some edits the first couple months in mine. Yeah.
It's nice when you have control on the back end of Amazon. But even some of the best-selling authors, I will catch mistakes in their books.
You do, yeah.
It happens to everyone. Like it's really crazy. Even if you have the best editing team, humans make mistakes. But I truly think with this one, it's so much better because I took so much time to really read through every sentence.
Yeah, and I feel confident that the people reading will feel that and feel the potency and the power in this book. So Erica, thank you for for coming on, for sharing about your book. I'm really excited for it to be out there. So in the show notes, the link will not be live quite yet. So if you're listening on Wednesday, November 22nd, go to Amazon, search, you could probably just search Erica Suter or Female Athlete High Performance. And then if you're listening Black Friday or later, we'll make sure we have the link directly to the book on Amazon, so you can find it there. So Erica, any other words you want to say about the book, or I guess people know where to find you. You've been on about 1 million episodes, so yeah.
I'm just really excited for this. I mean, I was excited about the first book, but this book's different. And I really can't wait. I'll just leave it at that.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait either. So thanks for coming on. Make sure you guys go check out the show notes, grab the book, especially 20% off between Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So make sure you guys go check that out. And Erica, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Shay.